So let me know if you guys are able to see my screen. Just
Yeah, we are able to see.
okay. Okay. So yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining the Toronto MuleSoft Meetup group. Uh, Today's agenda will be we are going to explore the options of Cloudhub 2.0 on what are the different capabilities Cloudhub 2.0 have and how it is different from Cloudhub 1.0. Uh, these are the agendas for today. We are going to cover by Cloudhub 2.0, shared space versus private space, Cloudhub 2.0 deployment, architecture, and the difference. And after that, we have one demo as well. And from there, we will go on if you guys have any more questions around the topic. And Vikas, over to you.
Yeah, yep. Thank you, Anurag. So yeah, guys, I'm Vikas, and I'm working as a senior consultant in Infosys. I have overall 12 years of experience in integration domain, and I have worked on different integration product suites like IBM Sterling Integrator, TIPCO, and now I'm working on MuleSoft. I'm a MuleSoft mentor and a MuleSoft certified integration architect. Here is my LinkedIn profile. Okay, if you want to connect with me, and and I love to share my knowledge. So I have created my YouTube channel as well, Your Integration Buddy. So you can go there and check out my videos on MuleSoft. Yep, that's pretty much it, Rock.
Okay, thank you so much, Vikas. We'll go now with the organization. Organizers, we have like for this meetup group, we have four organizations. No, organizers. We have, I think, Mahesh and Akash was not able to join today. We have Simant with us. Simant, you can go ahead.
Hello everyone. So I have 9 years experience in IT, and in MuleSoft I have like 6 to 7 years. I worked on many projects. So I'm MuleSoft mentor and this community leader of Toronto chapter. Previously I was a community leader in Pune chapter. So I always enjoy this meetup. We will there is so much learning and we interact with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Simon. And now, finally, about me. So currently, I'm working as an associate solution architect with Epicero. I'm with this company since last 4 years now. I have worked with various clients like Lufthansa Cargo, Hershey's, Blue Yonder, and currently I'm exploring. I'm basically helping one of the tire companies in US to start their digital journey. I'm also a meetup leader for this group. I'm certified MuleSoft architect and platform architect and integration architect. And yeah, we are going to enjoy the session that Vikas is going to present us today. So I think with that, I'll request Vikas to start sharing his screen and start the session.
Yep, sure, Anurag. Thank you. Yep, hope you're able to see my screen.
Not yet. Okay, yeah, I can. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, here is today's agenda. So first we will look like why would we go with the Cloud Hub 2.0 and why Cloud Hub 2.0 was introduced. Then we see the differences between the shared spaces and the private spaces in Cloud Hub 2.0. Then we'll take a look how the Cloud Hub 2.0 deployment looks like. And then we'll finally take a look at the architecture and the comparison between Cloud Hub 1.0 and 2.0. This will be followed by a live demo and Q&A session. Okay. So why Cloud Hub 2.0? So what prompted MuleSoft to introduce Cloud Hub 2.0? Okay, so Cloud Hub 1.0 like started with Cloud Hub 1.0 and last year only they introduced Cloud Hub 2.0. So basically, there are many reasons like which we can list down. Okay, why Cloud 2.0 was introduced? Primarily, like looking at the why it was introduced is like They wanted to improve the more performance wise. Okay, so since the underlying architecture in this Cloudhub 2.0 is completely revamped. Okay, so in Cloudhub 1.0 we were using the EC2 or VMs, okay, to deploy the applications, but now here we have the underlying architecture EKS. Okay, Kubernetes clusters are there, so we spin up the containers to deploy the applications. So containers are lightweight as compared to VMs. Okay, so that's why like more performance, more resource optimization. That is one of the main reasons why Cloudhub 2.0 was introduced. Apart from that, they have enhanced the security features. Like in Cloudhub 2.0, you can enable the outbound firewall rules, which was not available in the Cloudhub 1.0. And lastly, like enhanced monitoring also, okay, as compared to Cloudhub 1.0. So they have introduced all these things in Cloudhub 2.0. Okay, so here, as I mentioned here, we deploy and run the applications in the containerized environment, which is based on EKS clusters of AWS. Okay, so the underlying infra provider remains the same as AWS. Only thing is that instead of spinning the applications on the EC2 VMs, we are now deploying it in the containerized environment on EKS. Okay, so let me just give you a glimpse how does this a cluster looks like. Okay, so here is a Kubernetes cluster which looks like so. Kubernetes clusters consist of the nodes. Nodes are nothing but the VMs, and within the nodes we have the pods. So pod is the smallest deployable unit in a Kubernetes. Okay, and inside pods we have the containers. So here in this container, the mule runtime is running on which we deploy the application. Okay, so one container having one application. So it will have container will be having the mule runtime on which the mule application will be deployed. Okay, so instead of EC2 VMs as we used to do in Cloud 1.0, we have the containerized deployments here. Okay, so let's move forward. Okay, so it provides a standardized isolation boundary by running each mule instance and service as a separate container. Okay, so the containers are separated, like there is a standardized containerized isolation between the apps. And here we are able to deploy our applications across the 12 regions globally. We have dynamic scalability here, so we can achieve the horizontal scaling by easily by increasing the number of replica, and the vertical scaling can easily be achieved by increasing the core size. Here a new term replica is being introduced instead of the worker. Okay, so when I go to next slide, I'll show you the differences in the nomenclature, what we used to follow in Cloud 1.0 versus.
Vikas, you got muted.
I'm not sure how. Now it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine now.
Okay. So next, I was saying that more granular vCores option. Okay, so that I told one of the main reasons was what first to introduce Cloud of 2.0 was more efficient resource utilization. Okay, so here we have more granular level of vCore distribution in Cloud of 1.0. We can allocate point 1, point 2, point 5, 1 like that. But in case of Cloud of 1.0, we were just having like point 1, point 2, then 1, 2, 3 like that. Okay, so here more granular vCore options are there. And then clustering, that is the main important thing over here. Like it's a clustering mode is enabled. So earlier we used to have clustering only on the customer hosted mule runtimes or on the RTF, but here now clustering is enabled for the Cloudhub 2.0 as well. Then Cloudhub 2.0 supports the intelligent healing. Suppose the application, the underlying infra gets crashed, and then it will be moved to that separate infra and the other availability zone or within the same availability zone. So intelligent healing is there. There is zero downtime updates. Okay, so it supports the two kinds of deployments: rolling update, in which we will not see any downtime, okay, when you deploy the app or make any changes to the app. And then as a recreate option is also there, which there will be a downtime, because first of all it will be deleting the existing replicas and then will be creating the new ones. whereas in rolling update, the new replicas or new containers will be spinning off the existing ones. The ones will still be there in place. So we'll be using the rolling update only in the case like when we have more resources as our disposal. Okay, and the recreate option can be used when we don't have the luxury of more recourse on our site. Okay, so these are the main features of CloudHub 2.0 and why CloudHub 2.0 was introduced. So yeah, so here is architecture of CloudHub 2.0. So we are having the anypoint control plane and the runtime plane. So control plane is consisting of anypoint monitoring and logs, CloudHub V2, object store V2, runtime manager, anypoint exchange, access management. And then the runtime is consisting of the worker nodes. As I told you, the EKS cluster, having the different worker nodes, and within worker nodes, we'll be having the pods in which the mule runtime, the mule application will be deployed in the containers. Okay, so here is fully managed by MuleSoft, so you don't need to worry about the infra setup and like. So you may say that like it's a MuleSoft managed RTF. Okay, but the only difference is that in RTF you manage the infra, but here is MuleSoft in managing the infra. It's a fully iPaaS solution provided by MuleSoft, and it's a lightweight containerization as explained. Like we spin off the containers and deploy the apps, granular resource allocations, and then we have the enhanced security also, as I mentioned in a previous slide. So here is the nomenclature, how the nomenclature has changed from CloudHub 1.0 to 2.0. So VPC we used to call virtual private clouds in CloudHub 1.0. That has been we call them as private space. Workers in CloudHub 1.0 and replica in CloudHub 2.0. And lastly, we have having the DLB, the dedicated load balancers in CloudHub 1.0. So here we'll be calling the ingress controllers. Okay, we don't have any DLBs in CloudHub 2.0. We'll be having the ingress controllers here. Okay.
Okay.
So this is a link for this CloudHub 2 features and its comparison with CloudHub 1.0 and RTA, and RTF is the official documentation provided by MuleSoft. So I can just ping you this link over the chat, and if you get some time to go through it.
Okay. I think
Just
we have few questions as well because you want to answer them now or at
yeah,
the end. Okay.
yes.
So we have one
No,
question
we
from
can take it.
yeah. So we have one question from Priyanka. She is asking, can you explain how clustering work behind the scene for shared resource between replicas?
Yes, I will explain in the coming slides.
Okay. And there is another question from
I'll
Manish.
explain the.
Yeah, there is another question from Manisha. She is asking, pod contains multiple containers, or is it like one pod is one container?
Yep, it may contain one or more.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Vikas.
Yep, no worries. Okay. So okay, so I think I pinged the link in the chat, right?
Yes.
Let's move forward.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So here is the shared and the private space concepts over here in CloudHub 2.0. Okay, so shared space is an elastic cloud of resources that includes Mule instances running in a multi-tenant environment. Okay, so here the shared space is created one shared space per region. Okay, so it's a multi-tenant. So all apart from us, there are multiple customers that can also deploy their apps in the shared space. Okay, here we will go with this shared space option if we don't require the isolation. Okay, from the public cloud. If we don't want to connect to our on-premises data center, then we can also go to for shared space. And if we are okay to use the cloudhub.io domain name, in that case we can also go for this shared space. And here we don't need to configure custom certificates also because we are using the default cloudhub 2.0 domain name. Okay, so basically, it's deploying your apps in the shared space does not mean that okay there will be no isolation. There is a logical namespace isolation, which is concept of Kubernetes. So logical based on logical namespace, the apps are still isolated from each other in the shared space. Okay, now coming on to private space, which is the generally of recommended option. So here it's a virtual, private, and isolated logical space in Cloudhub 2.0 in which like we run our apps. So it's dedicated to us only. Okay, only we can run our apps. None of the other persons or other customers will use this private space. Okay, so it's a private network which is virtual cloud where apps are deployed to this private space. Okay, so here in the shared space, we were not having the facility to connect to our on-premises data center, but here we can either use a VPN or transit gateway, okay, to connect to other VPCs or the data centers. Okay, so we have the TLS context as our disposal. Okay, so we can have different domain. We are not bound to use cloudhub.io. We can upload using different TLS context. We can define different domains. Okay, and then we can configure our firewall rules also to allow the inbound as well as outbound traffic to our private space. Okay, and then lastly we can bound our environment as business groups which we want to relate to our which we want to bound to our bind to our private space. Okay, so these are the certain differences between shared space and private space. So as an analogy, you can think that okay, the shared space is like okay, we book a room in a hotel. Okay, so so when we book the room in a hotel and when we arrive in the hotel, so certain services may be shared between our room and other rooms, like the waiter which is who is serving me can be serving the other customers in the hotel as well. Okay, so that is kind of shared space. Okay, but a private space you can like think of like you're renting a villa or renting a bungalow. Okay, all the services inside that bungalow are catered to you only. Okay, so it will be like none of the other persons will be using that bungalow, and we will be controlling who can come inside our bungalow, who wants to go outside of bungalow. Okay, so it's you can consider that as an analogy. So consider the hotel as a shared space and our bungalow as a private space. Okay, any question, guys? Okay, fine.
So let's
So
say,
here,
sorry, I have one question.
sorry.
I have just one question.
Yep.
So if I compare SLB and DLB, so I can say that SLB is similar to our public, shared space, and DLBs are similar to private space, right?
Private spaces, yeah, private spaces, you
Okay.
can say that,
And
yeah.
that capability of having the certificate and the CNAME configuration is still there in the CloudHub 2.0, right? We can do that.
Correct. That the TLS contexts are there in the private
Okay.
space.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, I think we have one question from Salumia. Should we have Kubernetes knowledge as well to understand more on CloudHub 2.0?
Uh, it's better to have some basic understanding like how the Kubernetes cluster work, right? At least like what are the pods, what are the containers, okay? So at least have some basic idea about the Kubernetes. But yes, since this infra will also be managed by MuleSoft, so that's like you don't need the in-depth knowledge, but yes, having some basic knowledge helps, right? So it's good to have some basic idea about the Kubernetes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so but if you are familiar with the self-managed RTF, so in that case, you require an extensive knowledge of the Kubernetes because that is like you will be managing the infra, right? The runtime environment. So self-managed Kubernetes, the self-managed RTF, there you need extensive knowledge of Kubernetes, but like basic knowledge will do. Okay. Okay. Any more questions, Anurag?
Simant have another question. How long CloudHub 1.0 will be supported? Does it will be deprecated?
I think there is no official communication yet out on that, Simant.
Yeah.
So people are still majority of people are still using Cloudhub 1.0. So there is no official communication like by when the MuleSoft will end the support for Cloudhub 1.0. So that is not currently available as far as I know.
Yeah. Anyways, I think if we want to know more about the product life cycle, we should keep on checking the release notes and the updated
That's
communication
correct.
from the MuleSoft.
Yes,
That will give us more insightful
that is
knowledge
correct.
about that. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, that's correct. So here in the shared space and there's a private space comparison here. Okay, so the difference you will see over here, the Cloud Hub is having dedicated load balancer and ingress. Okay, so here it will be having this uh, data center and VPC. VPC we use the transit gateway, and for the connecting data centers we use the endpoint VPN, and we have redundant VPN tunnels also in place in the cases main tunnel fails. Okay, so basically, if you see over here, the other two options of connectivity, the VPC peering as well as the direct connect. So those are not currently supported in Cloudhub 2.2. Maybe going forward, they will be supported through Transit Gateway, but as of now, those two options, VPC peering and direct connect, are not supported in Cloudhub 2.2. Okay, and in shared space, as I told, it's a multi-tenant space. Multiple customers can deploy their apps in the shared space, and there is no vanity domain supported. And last mile security and SSL forwarding is supported in a shared space. So I'll come to these concepts in my demo. Last mile security and SSL forwarding. So here is the replica sizing. Okay, you see over here, so we have more granular vcore sizing here, point 0.1, point 0.2, point 0.5, 1, 1.5. So it means that you can efficiently use your resources. Okay, and here is the total memory, heap memory, and storage. Number of replicas, we can go from 1 to 8. Okay, and rolling update, as I told, it maintains the older version before your application is redeployed. No downtime is seen. Extra vcores are still needed because the older version needs to be up and running when your the newer version is getting deployed. And then we have a recreate option, in which we terminate the old replica and deploy the new replica. So it's quicker than rolling update, because we have first we are terminating the old replica and deploying the new replica. And here no extra vcores are needed. Okay. So okay, so now we'll proceed to the live demo. Any question, guys, before we move to the demo?
There's none. I think we can start.
Okay, fine. So so here you see that I have listed down what I want to cover in the demo part. So how do we deploy the application to Cloudhub 2.0 on HTTPS port 8081 using Mule Maven plugin with connected app? So you will be wondering, right? This 8081 HTTP, usually used for HTTP, right? In the is for in Cloud of 1.2, and in Cloud of 1.2 we usually go with 8082 if we want to use HTTPS. But here in Cloud Hub 2.2 we use the same port for HTTPS as well. Okay, so 8081 for HTTPS. And then we'll be using showing how to deploy it. We're using the Mule Maven plugin using the connected app. So I have just created a simple app. Okay, so I'm just listening on the port 8081 using HTTPS. So I have configured the one-way SSL, and in the payload, I just setting up just one sample payload that you have passed the Ingress controller and reached the app successfully. So here is the listener configuration if you want to see. Okay, so here is the port 881 and the TLS. I've just configured the one-way SSL. Okay, so yeah, supported the JKS path over here. Okay, so I'll just and this is the pom.xml. Okay, so we need to make some changes to our pom.xml if we want to deploy using the Mule Maven plugin. Although there are other options also available apart from Maven plugin to deploy the app. Like you can use the endpoint platform username and password as well to deploy it. Okay, but here's a connected app is a secure option, so I'm going ahead with it. Okay, so now what changes you want to make in the pom.xml? Let's take a look at that. Okay, so this is the official documentation of Microsoft, which you can refer what changes you want to make. I'll just ping the link over here in chat as well. Okay, so first under the plugins, yep, here in the plugins you have to copy this cloud up to deployment from the link which I pinged you. Okay, it will be having this configuration tag. Okay, and here will be providing the URI at anypoint.mulsoft.com. Provider will be MC, which stands for mule container. Environment is sandbox, which I want to deploy. Target is the shared space name. So as of now, like MuleSoft allows on the shared space access in the trial version. So this is the only shared space region that is available for deployment. Is Cloudhub US East 2. Mule runtime version is 4.4.0. So the key thing to note here is that Cloudhub 2.0 deployment supports only Mule version 4.3.0 and above. Okay, before the 4.3.0, the deployment, the Mule runtime is not supported. Server name here is the connected app name. It's my connected application. I'll show you where I have configured that. My application name is the demo meetup program 2 that will show up in the runtime manager. I'm deploying it in the two replicas and I'm assigning a vcore size as zero point 0.1. Another important thing to note here is that in this we can pass on the secure properties as well. If you remember in Cloudhub 1.0 we use a null artifact.json to define our secure properties, but here we can use the pom.xml to define our secure properties. I'll show you once I deploy it how does it show up on the runtime manager. Okay. And one more thing to note here is that the Mule Maven plugin version. So only the Mule Maven plugin version after 3.7 are supported for Cloud 2.0 deployments. Before 3.7, the Mule Maven versions are not supported. Okay, so here it is. So 3.7.1, you see over here. This is the same thing which I have copied over there. Route up to deployment, URI provider, everything matches with whatever I showed in the pom.xml. Apart from that, the other change which you want to make is in the distribution management. So distribution management, you will be providing this ID, which is again will be your connected app. A name will be corporate repository, and URI will be the Maven Anypoint Platform API v2, and then project dot group ID. So group ID will be your organization ID. So project dot ID I am taking up from here. Here is the group ID. So the project is a root and project dot group ID. What is group ID? Group ID is our org ID. Okay. So if I show you over here in my Anypoint platform, if I go to Anypoint platform, okay, so here is this org ID. From here I have taken the org ID and pasted over here. Here. Okay, so two things. One thing like the plugin version and the Cloudhub 2 and then distribution management. Okay, for where you would be. This will be acting as a repository connection information. Okay, so basically what happens, like if you might have worked with the RTF, we follow the same deployment policy, deployment procedure which we are following in the RTF. We are following Cloud 2.0. In RTF also we first deploy our apps on Anypoint Exchange, and from there Anypoint Exchange we the apps gets deployed to runtime manager. So the same procedure will be followed in the Cloud 2.0 as well. So here Anypoint Exchange is acting as a repository. Okay, so it's easier to revert to the older version. Okay, if you got some issue like after deployment, if you get into an issue and you want to revert to the older version, you can quickly do that. Okay, because Anypoint Exchange will be having the earlier version of that app. So first we'll deploy it in the Exchange, and then from Exchange it will go to the runtime manager. Okay. So yeah, these are the only changes which I see. Repositories here also you will need Anypoint Exchange 3 Anypoint Exchange. So this, I think this by default will come in this pom.xml. Okay. Yeah, and these settings you can see in this the link which I pinged you. Okay. So yeah, so that's pretty much in the changes in the pom.xml. And now I'll just show you the connected app configuration. Okay, so in the connected app, if I go to Anypoint platform under access management, connected apps. So this is the connected app, okay, connected app which I have created. So here you will see that we need to provide this access, exchange, contributor, view environment, view organization, create application, delete application, manage data, read applications. All these access need to be provided to the business group or environments, and so that we are able to deploy our app using this connected app into our runtime manager. Okay, so you see the name is my connected application, the same I have mentioned in here as well, my connected application. Okay, and here is the my connected application. Okay. Apart from that, one last setting that you need to make in the .m2 folder, which is for the Maven, in the settings folder. In the settings folder, you have to provide the client ID and secret from the connected app. So here, if I go here, client ID and client secret, you just need to pass it over here in the password. This is the client ID and this is the client secret. Okay, so yeah, we should be good to deploy our app using the connected app now. I'll just okay. So now I'll just go to the properties. Properties. I'll just open the location for this project. Demo. Just open the command prompt. Okay. We just be using this command mv and clean deploy. So the first command, what it will do, it will deploy it into the anypoint exchange. Can ping you the same over here also. And how do we see the apps deployed in the anypoint exchange? We'll just use this URL. Yeah, it's getting deployed. So this is a URL which you can use to view the app in exchange. Let's give it a few seconds. Okay, it's finished. Let me just refresh. Okay, so Meetup Demo Toronto published just now, updated now. Okay, this is the version. This gets deployed into anypoint exchange. Now, if I go to runtime manager, I will not see over here this app because it's still in the anypoint exchange. So I need to deploy it into runtime manager. So this second command will follow. This is the one. Just use this command. Just ping you over here. In the meantime, if anybody is having any questions, we can take that up. Okay, there's deploying to this share space, Cloudhub US East 2. Okay, so I think it should be up and running in next few seconds. Yep. Supplying.
I think we have few questions. One is from Priyanka. She is asking for every deployment, it will always deploy to Exchange and then to runtime.
Yes, that is correct. So that is currently already happening, as I told you in RTF. Okay, the same that they have extended here. The same functionality they have extended in Cloudhub 2.2.
So we can't use
That
any
will act
other
as a record.
repo to store it. We have to use the Exchange. We can't use
Yep, for Cloudhub purposes.
yeah.
Huh?
We can't
Yep,
use
you can use your own repo, right? You can use it from GitLab, right? For
okay.
GitHub, whatever you are using, you can use that. It's for this versioning, maintenance, and reverting to the older version. For that purposes, it's being used. Okay, by CloudHub.
Okay. Okay.
It's not like that you will not use your own repo. No, it's not like that. But it's for this CloudHub versioning purposes. It's being used over here.
Okay. And the next question is from Salumia. He is asking, we should pass the worker size score reason and etc like Cloudhub 1.0, right?
Yep. So I'm passing the same here in the CloudHub in the POM XML. If I show you, yeah. So we are passing it here.
Yeah, through
Environment target.
POM we are controlling that, not via the
Correct.
runtime proper like command line property.
So here we have there. No, you will see that the same thing we have here
Hmm.
as well. In the mentioned in the official documentation. I have copied it from here only. Anurag. You see over here. So here for deploying Mule Maven plugin, this configuration is needed. So we'll be here. We'll be providing all the information.
Yeah. The next question he's asking is, can we skip the exchange and directly deploy into Cloudhub 2.0?
No,
Okay. So we
it's a
like
mandatory to do that.
okay.
I tried that, like I tried that when I was preparing for this demo, so I directly run that the second command, but
Mhm.
it failed. So it first it's a required thing to first deploy and exchange and then to runtime manager. Yeah.
Okay. 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 Thank you.
Let's move forward.
Yep.
Cool. So yeah, you see that is running now. Application status running. So you may note a difference here. Like Cloud of 1.0, the application status used to be started, but now it's Cloud of 2.0. It's running. Okay. This is a public endpoint. It's there. So if the path which I mentioned here was the demo, but you will see that it's still not reachable. Any idea why it's still not reachable? Why I'm not able to hit it? Anybody?
We need to do something related to something in Ingress.
Yep. Yes, you're right. I'll show you over here. So you see this. So I opened this app. So this is the configuration number. Okay, it's configuration detail 0CE Okay, so now we'll show you how like the new configuration will be created. Okay, once I do some changes. This is the public endpoint target name. Target type is shared space. This is the configuration. Okay, and then so CloudHub 2.0 stores uh, this configuration. Okay, so this is how you will be, I'll be showing you once you make some changes, it will keep a track of all the changes, and then okay, so whichever is active as of now, it will show that one. Okay, so CloudHub maintains 100 MB logs per configuration, okay, for 30 days or 100 MB, whichever limit is reached earlier. Okay, so this is a runtime version. As I was telling you, it is supporting only 4.3.0 and above only. Before, if you are thinking to migrate your apps from Cloudhub 1.0 to 2.0, you have to make sure that your runtime is also upgraded to 4.3.0 and above. Okay, replica size again 0.1, 2.5 up to 4. Okay, replica count 2. That's the same thing I have supplied in the pom.xml. You see over here clustering is here, and yeah, then we have used object store v2. Okay, in cloud 1.2 it was by default in the checked was checked, but here it's not checked, so we can either decide to use it or not use it. Another thing you will note here that So they have eliminated that persistence queue. So persistent queue service that was there in Cloudhub 1.0, that is no longer available in Cloudhub 2.0. Okay, so if you want to use a persistent queue service over here, you can use the any point time queue over here. And here deployment model, rolling up, rolling update and recreate. As explained earlier, rolling update zero downtime, recreate it will see some downtime. Okay, so then in that case, here is the ingress. So here the thing is that all this so when we hit the traffic, right, so first from when we hit this URL, okay, so the traffic first goes to the ingress, and then ingress will route it to the appropriate app. So here the thing is that since I have used the HTTPS, okay, is the one way SSL. Okay, so the thing is that when we hit this ingress, when we hit this public endpoint, the SSL offloading is happening at ingress level. Okay, so if I show you over here, so we send this traffic, we hit this URL and it goes to ingress controller, and from ingress controller it goes to the application. Okay, so the thing is that what happens, there is a option over here, last mile security. Okay, so if we check this option, okay, in that case the SSL offloading will happen at the app level. Okay, and if we don't send uncheck that option, it will, the SSL offloading will happen at the ingress level only. So in this case, our last mile security was not enabled. So what happened? We sent the HTTPS request, it went to ingress, and ingress SSL unloading, SSL offloading happened. So it converted from HTTPS request to HTTP. So it is looking for the app deployed at which is using the port HTTP 8081. But that is not our case. We are having HTTPS 8081. Okay. So but if we enable this last mile security, in that case the SSL offloading will happen at app itself. Okay, so the traffic will pass here from the HTTPS. It will go to ingress as HTTPS, and from ingress it goes to a app as HTTPS only. Okay, so in this case, it will find the app deployed at, using the port HTTPS at 8081. So we should be able to successfully hit our app and get the response. Okay, so now what I will do, I will just check mark this. Okay, and apply the changes. Okay, let's see the status. You see over here, like I'm using the rolling update. So rolling update. So currently, only the two replicas are still running. I'm still be able to hit the application, and these two replicas are still getting started. Okay, so this is no downtime will be seen. So let it get deployed, and then we can try one deployment using the recreate option also. Okay. Okay, fine. So now it started, and let's try to hit the URL. Yep, you have passed through the ingress controller and reached the app successfully. Okay, so now SSL offloading happened at the app, not at the ingress. Okay, now you see over here, these are the versions which are getting maintained over here. So config, this is the last successful, and this was the earlier one. So if you want to roll back, you can just click over here, apply the changes. We will revert back to the earlier version. So that is quite helpful over here. Okay. So now one more thing, if you might have noticed, the naming convention of the public endpoints have also changed. Okay, so in the in the Cloudhub 1.0, right? So you would see that we will be having just the HTTPS and app ID and then region, then cloudhub.io. That's it. Okay, it was like this only. So if I go over here, so this is the Cloudhub one URL. Okay, so if I take this Cloudhub 2.0, okay, you see over here, this is Cloudhub, and this is the app like this. So in Cloudhub 1.0, the app name needs to be unique across all the Cloudhub, right? Across all the regions. Okay, so that was the nomenclature followed over there, app.region.cloudhub.io. But in the Cloudhub 2.0, we don't need to worry about our app name uniqueness across region. Okay, so we just provide the app. We up to the app Cloudhub 2.0, where this unique ID gets appended, and then the shard ID, which is specific to the region, gets appended. Then .region.cloudhub.io. You see that this was my app name. Okay, so this is the unique ID that has been appended, and this is the shard ID that gets appended, and then there's a region, and then this is a cloud.io. So we don't need to worry about our app name. So app names will always be unique in the Cloudhub 2.0. Okay, so that is the difference between the nomenclature of the endpoints in the case of a Cloudhub 2.0 as compared to Cloudhub 1.0. Okay, so now let's move forward. Any question, guys, before we move forward?
No questions till now, Vikas. We are good. We can
Uh,
go ahead.
in the English, since I'm using the trial version, okay, but if you use a paid version, in that case, you will see this forward SSL session and path rewrite options also uh, of also enabled. The forward SSL session is usually used for the two-way SSL communication, last mile security for one way, and path rewrite is also used for the enable the application listens for request on specific base path. Okay, so just for suppose your the requests are coming to this path and you want them to redirect to the base path like this, so you can provide that path, and the requests which are coming to this base, this path, it will be redirected to base hyphen path. So that is the URL rewrite, path rewrite option. Then going to properties, yeah, properties also. So if you remember in the pom.xml in the secure properties tab, I passed this HTTP port property as 881. So here it is. You will see that HTTP dot port, and it is the protected value. Okay, so you won't be using the mule artifact or JSON file to supply these secure properties. Just use the POM maximum. That's it. Okay. So yes, apart from that, logging, the logging part enable the logs. Okay, so we can forward the logs also in Cloudhub 2.0 as we used to do in Cloudhub 1.0. So Cloudhub 2.0, it's in the like we have the function, but we don't need to disable the logs going in the Cloudhub 1.0. We can just enable the application log forwarding to the third party logs, third party logging systems like Splunk or ELK. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much, guys, from the demo part. Let me just check if I missed anything. Last my security rolling update. Okay, fine. So rolling update. Okay, so let me just do one change. Let me just go to. Let me just revert. I'm just revert back to the older version. Okay, and now I'll just, this was the older version, that the last configuration that this configuration which we deployed earlier. Okay, so if I, just 1 second. So here deployment model, I will just follow a recreate. Okay, and the configuration, I'll just follow this. and let's try to deploy the changes. Now you will see that this app will not be available because you will see the status over here. Sorry, it's still recreate only. Wait a sec. Yep, you will see that the app is now not running. So the earlier replicas have been terminated and new replicas are getting spinned off. Okay, so this is the difference. In the meantime, this will not be accessible, this application. So this is the difference between the rolling update and the recreate option.
I think because we have few questions. One question is from Salumia. He's asking URL will change for every deployment until and unless we deploy, we don't know the URL, right? It will be difficult to configure in different YAML files for experience, process, and system APIs.
Until unless URL will change for every deployment. No, URL will not change for every deployment, right? It's the first time only when you deploy it. Like in that case, only you'll be getting the application ID and that endpoint. Correct, and we will be using that shared space, sorry, the private spaces, and right. So uh, I don't think so URL will change, right? And you will be having the mappings done to point to based on the base path or the redirection will be happening, right? You will be having the uh, your ingress right in front of your private spaces to route the traffic. So no, the deployments, it will not change the path. No, it will just be like you just ensure the application uniqueness. That's it. It will not change.
Okay.
Still, we can use artifact JSON file to hide the properties. I have not tried using both of them, artifact.json as well as pom.xml. So, but pom.xml is we can certainly use, but you can try using that artifact.json along with pom.xml. I have not tried that artifact JSON with the Cloudhub 2.2. Correct. Any recommendation or things to keep in mind for migrating from Cloudhub 1.0 to Cloudhub 2.0? Yeah, so as I told you, right? So we need to have that version, right? Mule runtime version, mule runtime version from greater than 4.3.0. Okay, so that is one of the key consideration, and you need to make sure that wherever you are using the persistent queue service in the Cloudhub 1.0, uh, you need to replace it with the endpoint MQ in Cloudhub 2.0. Okay, yeah, and you may talk to your customer account success manager also from MuleSoft side to help you in this migration process. Okay, but yeah, these are the key considerations. And apart from that, as I told, this VPC peering and direct connect are not supported. So if you are using in your Cloud 1.2, you need to figure out a way how you'll be continuing to do that in Cloud 2.0. So certain features which are not supported, like data graph is still not supported, so you need to check on that as well. So yep, that the comparison page link which I pinged you. Okay, so that will be helpful in determining like whatever features you are using in Cloud 1.2 which are not available in Cloud 2.0. So you will need to keep in mind about those features and see how to make them work in Cloud 2.0. Okay. Yeah, fine then. Yeah, I don't think the URLs will not change, Salomia. Like it's like first time you deploy, like you will be having the same URL with your shard ID and application ID. Okay, so it's not like that. It will be changing every time. No, it's not like that. Okay, okay, fine then. I think one more thing which I want to show, like if I stop this application. Okay, so if I just go ahead and stop the application. Okay. And if I go to the runtime, not in the runtime manager. Just wait 1 second. I just want to go to my subscriptions so that I can show you the core usage.
I think because you're speaking on mute.
Yeah.
Not sure like how it got muted, Anurag. Not sure. Yeah, so yeah, I just went here subscription and time manager. You will see that 0 out of 1 are in use because we have stopped the application, so no codes are being used. Okay, so I think I was telling the same thing, or did I get muted before that, Anurag?
No, I think you were into the next section. I think you were trying to see that. So this whole thing you can, I think, repeat the next part which you were explaining.
Yeah, I was just telling about this core usage. So if I stop the application, the codes are not in use. Okay,
Oh, okay.
so that was the last point which I wanted to
Okay.
show. Okay, so now coming on to the state management part, like which one of the persons also asked. So how do the state management works in Cloudhub 1.0 versus Cloudhub 2.0? Since in Cloudhub 2.0 we have the clustering enabled. So you see over here in Cloudhub 1.0 we have OS v2 and non-persistent queues. In that case, no state is getting shared.
Vikas, if possible, can you just zoom in this whole? Yeah, I think it's fine. Yes, thank you.
Fine, you're able to hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So this is how the state management is being done in Cloud 1.0 and 2.0. So Cloud 1.0, so we have the OS v2 and non-persistent queues enabled. In that case, you will see that nothing is getting shared between worker 0 and worker 1. And we have this, since we have OS v2 service enabled, so you will see the persistent object store moving in this OS v2 service. Okay, and when, since we in the CloudHub 1.0 we have the persistent queue services at our disposal, if we enable both OS v2 and persistent queues, in that case you will see that the persistent object store moves in the object v2 service, and then the persistent queue service will be having both transient and persistent queues. Still, this non-persistent object store remains in the Java heap of the EC2 instance, and the state is not getting shared between these two. Okay, so now since with the clustering coming into picture in CloudHub 2.0, how does CloudHub 2.0 behaves under these different conditions? So here we have no clustered and no OS v2 enabled, so nothing is getting shared, like this transient and non-persistent object store and transient and non-persistent queues keep they will remaining in the JVM Java heap of the EC2, and persistent object store and persistent queues stay they remain on the pod disk. Okay, so now we have the clustering enabled, but we have not enabled the OSP2 service. So in this case, you will see that the using the Hazelcast mechanism. I think someone was asking me how do we clustering work. It works using the Hazelcast. Using the Hazelcast mechanism, you will see that in the JVM heap memory of the pod. So these are the states will be shared between the transient object store as well as the persistent object store and transient queues and persistent queues. Okay, and then here we have the non-clustered and OSV2 enabled. So OSV2, the persistent object store will be accessible via this OSV2 service, and then the persistent object, the queues remain on the port disk, and then here the non-persistent object store and transient queues remain in the Java heap. And here we have the clustered enabled as well as the OSV2 service enabled. So in this case, you will see that uh, the Hazelcast mechanism will be applicable to the persistent objects queues over here. And the here you will see that since we have enabled the OSV2 service, this persistent objects will be moving into OSV2. The non-persistent will still remain in the Java heap, and this through this Hazelcast transient and the persistent queues will be sharing the data. Okay, this is how the clustering and the OSV2 service will be behaving. Okay, so the only difference which you will see here over here is that there is no persistent queue service. The transient object store and transient queues you will see over here. Okay, but the this persistent queue service, that is not here. Persistent queue service is not here, but yes, clustering is here. So yes, so that is how the state management is being done in Cloudhub 1.0 and Cloudhub 2.0. Yeah, hope I am clear on this. Anurag, any questions?
Yeah, I think it was clear. Like, if guys, if you have any question, you can just post it in the chat, and Vikas will be able to answer that. Okay, Priyanka have this question.
In the case of disaster, if clustering is enabled, yeah, if yeah, that is the main purpose of clustering, right? Like if this goes down, then the same state will be available, clustering replica too. That's correct. Okay. Okay, fine. So let's move next.
I think there is
So
another question by Priyanka. She's asking any latency introduced by Hazelcast.
uh latency wise, I don't think so. There should not be any latency. Uh, no, Priyanka, like not as such, which will be like more observable. Okay, just like that, if one instance goes down, second should be up and running, and second is already up and running, correct? So just like that, no. But if you're talking about like a DR setup, then there might be a like latency involved, because in that case you're replicating the data from one availability zone to another availability zone. But here in this case, like if replica goes down, the other is already available, right? So we will not see any latency. Both the replicas in the same availability zone. But if you have specifically set up a DR, right, in some other availability zone, and data is getting replicated between one availability zone to another availability zone, you might see some latency over here. But here, since both the replicas are in the same availability zone, you should not see any latency. Yeah. Okay, so fine. So this is the CloudHub 2.0 architecture. So here we have the network load balancers through which the traffic will be coming on HTTPS, and it will go to get routed by ingress controllers to the ports where the applications are deployed within the containers. Okay, so, and then there's a NAT gateway where we can configure the outbound static IPs. Okay, where we can control that from where we want to send the traffic. And here you see the connectivity by VPN and gateway for the private spaces to the data center and VPCs. And here the mule runtime, it interacts with the control plane, which is having the management center and
Vikas, you again went to the mute.
fine. So yeah, I've just unmuted myself. Okay, so I was saying that this is the inbound so network load balancer will be getting the request HTTPS request, and then will those be routed by ingress to the ports here. Okay, where the apps are deployed, and then through the NAT gateway, the outbound traffic will be controlled. And here we will see that the endpoint VPN and transient gateway are in picture over here. So the private spaces and the directions we can make it to data center as well as the VPCs via VPN or transit gateway. And there the runtime plane communicates with the through TLS with the control plane, which is having this management center, runtime manager, API manager, and advanced monitoring. Here the key thing to note here is that inbound static IPs and outbound static IPs. If you know, like if in the cloud of 1.2, the static IPs are defined at app level. Okay, but here in this case, we can define them as at the private space level. Okay, the static IPs. Okay, so this is the differences between cloud of 1.0 and 2.0. Okay, but to get the more exhaustive list, you can refer to the same URL which I pinned earlier in the chat. So object store supported both the versions. VPC VPN supported in cloud of 1.0 and 2.0. Transit gateway supported in both of them. High availability is there. Clustering, as I told, it is supported in cloud of 2.0 but not in cloud of 1.0. I think I just one second, guys. I think there is some mismatch in this supported and unsupported thing. Just one second. Let me just stop sharing and just get the latest copy. Just one second. Okay, I'll share again. Okay, fine. You able to see my screen, right, Rock?
Yep.
Okay. So if I was here at clustering, so clustering is not supported in Cloud of 1.0, but it's supported in 2.0. Outbound firewall rules, these are supported in 2.0 only. Deployment rollback is supported in 2.0 because we are deploying first in an endpoint exchange. Data graph is currently not supported in Cloud of 2.0. VPC pairing is not supported in Cloud of 2.0. Persistent VMQ service, it's not supported in 2.2. Cloud Hub connector is not supported. Direct connector is not supported. Static IP addresses are supported at app level on Cloud Hub 1.2, but they are supported private space level in the Cloud Hub 2.2. Inbound firewalls are supported in both of them. Okay, so that was pretty much about this session and Rock. I have got a few questions if we can ask the audience if
Hmm.
like what is rolling update, what is recreation. I hope you guys understand what is private space, shared space, horizontal scaling, vertical scaling, which mule runtime version are supported by Cloud of 2.2. Does the Cloud of 2.2 support the persistent VMQ service? Yeah, so I think the audience should be knowing the answers to these questions and Rock.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Thanks.
That's pretty much on Rock from my side.
Okay. Yeah, I think thank you so much, Vikas, for giving us those insightful lessons around what is the difference between 2.0 and 1.0 for sure, and that demo was very helpful. Hopefully, audience will be able to get back. They can start their journey in Cloud Hub 2.0 using the basics that you have provided. And thank you so much for joining this meetup group.
Yep, thank you so
And
much, Anurag.
yeah,
Thank you.
and we'll
Thank you,
love to
everyone.
host you again, Vikas, for sure, with new topic,
Yeah, sure,
some
Anurag.
more information. Yeah. Okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Thank you so much, guys.
sure.
Have a good one,
Thank you.
and bye bye.
Thanks, Vikas. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks,
Bye
Anurag.
bye.